Do you ever feel just a little crazy? Kind of like the Joker, but cooler and more badass? Is Cthulhu one or several of your monitor backgrounds? When you see something horrifying and bone-chilling, do you cry a little bit? Do you hide your face in your palms like a little baby? No? Well, my friend, you might just be more sane than the rest of us.
Most everyone's mad here.
I took a dive into the Dungeon Master's storage unit, and tucked behind this big mask back here, I found out about Sanity, which I guess I didn't have before. Though that does explain the demons floating around my eyes all the time, and that little meter at the top corner of my screen that I can't get rid of. I'm gonna wager to guess that not every single campaign needs Sanity included. Like say you're running around with Stibbles the Gnome, having a bright-colored adventure in the woods. The fragile balance of your brain isn't going to snap and force you into bouts of sweaty madness and cannibalism. But for horror games akin to Amnesia, Darkest Dungeon, or Resident Evil VR, where your mental stability serves as a measure for whether or not you punch something and start crying, Sanity is the perfect thing to round out your character. This is also true for adventures beyond reality, dealing with alien truths like how Cthulhu is lobbying a lot of money to make sure that the ocean level rises because he needs his sleep and we're loud as fuck. Instead of being anxious that there's 1,000 monsters right around the corner when you're shunted through space and time into a realm that your senses weren't built for, a sanity saving throw just might save your ego from getting scrambled like an egg.
This is your brain.
A higher sanity score probably means that you've seen some awful shit, and a low sanity score means that you faint at the sight of blood because you didn't know that bodies were full of that. In practice, you'd apply your mental stability to things like remembering the details of your haunting childhood, or learning a new spell from a book made of flesh that's actively trying to possess you, or taking control of alien technology that latches onto your body, or even just accepting the fact that you're a made-up character in an RPG, played by a fat dude who's had way too many beers and there's a stain on your character sheet. But that's okay. You'd also use Sanity to resist the effects of mind-shattering spells, alien psionics, traumatic experiences like seeing your stepmother perform an award-winning Cleveland steamer, or getting hit by one of those weird orbs in Gravity Falls. I also think, like with Bloodborne's insight, creatures and enemies might behave differently to characters who are suffering from insanity, or to people whose eyes are glazed over with resistance to horror. Maybe certain creatures or other creatures' true forms only appear when you've suffered from madness, or sentient magic items can only be heard by the clear-headed.
Don't tell him anything!
The addition of sanity and insanity alter magic pretty heavily in the world, changing psychic attacks and emotion-related spells into something entirely new. For example, a dragon's frightful presence would be nothing to a stable mind, so a lot of saving throws get pretty freshly shifted around. This mechanic is also a perfect way to more easily introduce madness into your game, since failings of sanity lead to a character becoming further and further detached from their own reality.
And if you knew what went on in here, you'd freak out. I guess I'm just a bit more demented than most.
There are 3 types of madness you can scourge your players with as a DM, and I love them all. The first is short-term madness, which lasts a few minutes at a time, and I think fits best as a failure to accept something shocking or world-shaking for that character. Or just eating an unreliable can of mushroom and bean stew. Stuff like laughing uncontrollably, suddenly seeing everyone as your enemy, having reality twist around you, becoming incredibly suggestible, or just straight up blacking out. It's a similar case for long-term madness, which takes over your character for about a day. These are the kind of tics, coping mechanisms, or overwhelming disabilities you might get struck with while trying to overcome that memory of the thing with your stepmom. Or like a really bad breakup. Repeating activities without knowing it, having vivid images cover your eyes, crippling paranoia, attachment to a single object, a drastic shift in your identity where for a little too long you think that you look and feel cooler in sunglasses, or stuff like self-inflicted memory loss. My favorite is where the Dungeon Master picks a spell or a potion and you think you're under its effects for the duration, like thinking you can fly or that you're invisible, all that good roleplay stuff. Indefinite madness is what happens when your sanity loses against a permanent world shatter. Maybe your hometown was thrust into hell while you were at a bar just a couple miles away. Or you suffered from that time you killed someone in self-defense, but their body started colliding with the geometry in the floor and then they T-posed and vanished. What do you even do about that? These are super fun flaws to just give a low sanity character out the gate, like having imaginary friends, alcoholism, but the exciting kind where you run in the woods at night, thinking the deep state is hunting you, or being a silly little Joker guy who laughs when he probably shouldn't.
I'm the Joker, baby.
I don't know, I found this back here and wanted to at least mention it before I suffer through the traumatic experience of airports on my way to Gen Con. Oh boy. For those of you who are going, I think I'll be at the Ghostfire booth for a decent amount of time during the weekend, and I'll be running the first public reveal of my next project, Companion Quest. As a board game, it's still in beta, and I'm super excited about the feedback we're gonna get. I hope you guys aren't too mean.